host our annual water communion, and at that time, we will officially welcome Amelia Gunning as our new Director of Religious Exploration. At this time, we would like to welcome any guests or visitors that are here today. We're going to be doing this before. Are there any guests or visitors with us? Thank you, David. Okay.
Hi, I'm Wolfgang. I'm originally from Columbia, but am currently going to college, so I don't currently live here, but this is my mother.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ann Bootmeyer. I am new to the Shandon area, and I exercise past y'all's street, y'all's church, and that's how I found you. And we're happy to be here this morning.
Well, thank you, Ann and Wolfgang. Appreciate you being here. And there is a visitor card in the back of the chair in front of you. If you want to go ahead and complete that and send it, and we'll be able to get you on our mailing list and share. At this time, I'd like you all to go ahead and pull out your devices and prepare to put them on silent. But before you do, I'd like you to go to your pictures and find a photo of a child. And as you find that picture, at that time, silence your device.
I invite our choir, Chalice Voices, forward to sing She Sings by Amy F. Bernan.
Wow, thank you so very much. The song captures the essence of child's curiosity and sense of wonder. The flower on the podium up here represents all that we value and all that is most important to us, and that is the children who are the focus of this morning's service. If you would, please stand in body and spirit and join me in the congregational covenant found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant with one another. Thank you so much. If you would, please be seated. Unitarian Universalism is a diverse and non-creedal religion. Our community is based on deeds, not creeds. We are a covenantal religion, which means we don't have to believe the same in order to treat each other the same, with respect, dignity, compassion, and equity. We side with love, embracing and welcoming all people. The UUCC is structured with an elected board and committees that guide our work, working collaboratively with our dedicated staff, with love at the center of all we do. At this time, I would like to invite the children and youth of the congregation to join me in this morning's chalice lighting. So you've all come on forward. The children will be part of the chalice lighting. Anna will also be engaging them in music, and they will also be a part of our opening words. So children are all here. We've got some more on their way.
Our opening hymn is number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. And I'll encourage all of you who are still at your seats to go ahead and stand as you're willing and able to join in singing. And for all our kids up front, I'm going to bring some instruments over to invite you to play with. We also welcome Andy Wells as our drummer in this morning's service. To add we've got some shakers. If you want to dance, we've got some stars. And that, shake it. Is that actually a cowbell? I think so. Shake it. There you go. Does anybody want this? Not this one? That is a wood rock. You'll need one more tool. What's in it? Shake it. There you go. It does this. Lyndon's got a stick. Okay, looks like you all have something good. So I'll invite you to try to eat with me and Mr. Andy. We're just going to try. You can let us hear. 1, 2, 3, 4. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day.
To visit the Low Country with the love of my life, Connie Quirk, this last weekend. Enjoy Brick Green Gardens and Huntington Beach State Park and the birds and the sculptures and all that good stuff. And we even got not too bad weather for the most part. So deep gratitude there. I'm in an ongoing sense, grateful for the participation of the UU the Vote campaign, which is going on. And you could even augment my gratitude further if you have 5 or 10 or 15 letters you've been sitting on for a week or 2 or 3 or 4, because I'm belatedly realizing we've got 1,300 of these things that we've now downloaded and printed out. And if everybody with who fits that description waits until the window opens up to mail them next month, it's going to be a bit of a process. So get them in, please. Anyway, grateful. Thank you all. And thank you especially, Connie.
Thank you, Kevin. Bud?
Good morning. I'm Bud Ashley. I wanted to start off by saying I believe in our Constitution and our First and Second Amendment pretty strongly. I'm a gun owner myself, but the only thing I can't understand is why a 14-year-old needs an assault rifle. And I wanted to give you a couple numbers for your head. More than 3,600 American children have already been shot this year, and nearly 1,000 of them didn't survive.
Thank you, Bud.
We had the forum this morning, so I didn't get a chance to get a real candle, so it'll be a virtual candle. Anyway, came up for 2 reasons. One, I was in Wisconsin for a few days. Any of you who are friends with me on Facebook can see it, and I decided to come up because I heard it was Grandparents' Day, and some of my grandchildren came in from California, and the others live in Wisconsin, so I got to see a lot of my grandchildren in Wisconsin, and it was very nice. The other thing is, the reason I decided to get up here was because what you just had was speak up. I still go to grand rounds at the hospital where I practiced back when I was still a general pediatrician, and Debbie Greenhouse, who is like an incredibly wonderful pediatrician, did the grand rounds, and it was on advocacy this week, and she spoke, basically, she really walks the walk. She goes to the legislature all the time to talk about various issues, and she says it's a marathon, not a sprint. And gun violence was certainly, as was just brought up, one of the things that she's worked very hard to try and reduce, and she meets regularly even with Joe Wilson, who is sort of quite to the right of hers, but nevertheless he listens to her and follows through with some of the same things. So, and as a matter of fact, this is a paid political announcement. The week after, next week is whatever you want to talk about at the forum, but the week after is advocacy, so speak up.
Thank you, Larry.
Good morning, I'm Janice. I have a candle to light for 2 reasons. First and foremost is a candle of gratitude. I've been out for a couple of weeks and had several people reach out to me and check on me, and I know that Chuck and Bud lit some candles on behalf, and I'm grateful. I'm doing well. I'm better. Everything apparently was related to COVID, but it's done and over with, and I'm doing all right now. And then the second reason is on behalf of my partner, Jeff, who's super excited that football season has started back up and that he has a new spot for tailgating. Special spot for tailgating, and wants to extend that anybody who wants to join in on tailgating at USC for his season tickets, please come in and join. I light on his behalf as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice.
Good morning, guys and gals, and everybody in between. It's great to see you this morning. After you join us for a special social hour for all ages, I hope that those of you who are interested in our animal ministry and our upcoming blessing of the animals, just wanted to let you know we'll be having a planning meeting in room 10. Hope to see you there.
Thank you, Linda. This time I'd like to light a candle in memory of Barbara Nielsen, who died earlier this week. She was a trailblazer and the first woman elected to the state superintendent of education. She was a champion for children and also a dear friend whose words will continue to resonate throughout this service when she said, "Every child is a gift, and what we do with that gift is in our hands." And then, of course, the candle that we light for those joys and concerns that remain silent in our hearts. To ponder these joys and concerns, let us pause for a moment in silent meditation. At this part of the service, we have an opportunity to share our abundance, and this congregation participates in Share the Plate, where half of our cash collection goes to a special community partner. Our Share the Plate recipient this month is the Harriet Hancock Center, and we are pleased today to introduce Matt Butler, the center's board president, who will share a brief message from the center. If you wish to donate to Share the Plate, please write Share the Plate in the memo line. You can also go online and donate via use, and there's also the QR code that you find every week in the order of service. So at this time, Matt, would you like to come down forward and share?
I'm going to set a timer for myself on Cliff's behalf. Good morning, everybody. Matthew Butler, the president of the Harriet Hancock Center Foundation Board. I just want to say, again, thank you to this congregation for the much support that y'all have given us over the years and the support that you continue to provide for us. Just a little update on the center. This past summer, we started 2 new programs. We brought one back that was previously that we held before COVID. It is specifically for queer communities of color. For members of the queer communities of color. And we've also started a queer and disabled group. We know that disabilities are both visible and invisible, and so this is a peer support opportunity for folks who are disabled and identify as LGBTQ+. We, in committing ourselves to equity and to inclusion, we've expanded. We actually replaced our wheelchair ramp. In the back, it's now ADA compliant and brand new, and we've done some other things within the center to try and make the space a little bit more welcoming and acceptable for folks who use mobility devices. We are going to have another prom this coming year. Excited to announce that we've already set the date for May 17th, 2025. It will be at the Siebel's House, historic Columbia property. All the money that you give to us goes directly back into the community, whether it's with our First Sunday potlucks, our trans support group, our youth support group, or the other groups that we provide as services to the community. So we're very appreciative of all of your generosity, and we are very thankful for your partnership and allyship and friendship, and we look forward to many years of continued growth and walking together. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. And would you like to please come down for this morning's offering? Appreciate it.
I'm pleased to introduce Kate Noel and Andy Wells, who will be joining me in We Shall Be Known by Our Muse.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Thank you. This represents the example of the kindness and generosity of this congregation. And on behalf, we thank you.
Good morning. It is my honor to be with you today. I've known Mark for a long time and had a lot of respect for the work that he does with children and families in our community. So when I had this opportunity, yes, please, let's put that on the calendar. I can't wait. My name is Deborah DePaoli. I work with the Institute for Child Success, and we are a policy and research organization. So like Mark said, we do a lot of work to support education, access to healthcare, access to mental health supports, looking for ways to make sure that families have safe, stable, affordable housing, nutrition, all the things that a family and a child need to thrive. A big part of the work that I do is with the Early Childhood Common Agenda, which you can see on my t-shirt, and it's on the front of your bulletin today. That is a picture of about 85 of our family and community advocates. That was a year ago, January, on a very cold day at the State House, and we were there to announce our legislative priorities, to communicate with lawmakers the things we need to strengthen in order to see children thrive, in order to see families meet their full potential. Mark had asked you before you turned your phone off to please pull up a picture of a child, and I'd like you to find that picture now and just hold it up so that people around you can see. Now, it may be a young child. This is my goddaughter who will be 4 in December. It may be a child who's now in their 30s or 40s or beyond, right? But that's still your child. So hold up that picture and just put your hand on your heart for a moment And I want you to think of that precious, beautiful child that's pictured there on your phone and all the reasons that you love and treasure that child's joy and brilliance and spirit, right? And we know that every child in our community holds that kind of joy, potential, exuberance, right? We also know that not all children have the things they need to thrive. So I always like to start my talk with that idea. Look at that child. When we talk about advocacy, you can put your phones down. When we talk about advocacy, we're not just talking about children, right? Children out there, the hundreds of children, the thousands of children, the millions of children. We're talking about this child. I'm thinking of my goddaughter, Kiana. I'm thinking of my own children who are now 17 and 19. That is why we focus on children's well-being. It's an individual thing as well as being something that impacts our entire community. I have a couple questions for you, and you can answer out loud or you can raise your hand. I want to know, in the past, let's say 30 to 60 days, have you read an article or maybe listened to a blog, podcast, read a blog that was something to do with community thriving or children or families? Have you read something like that in the last 30 to 60 days? Listened to something like that? Okay, great. Next question. In the last 30 to 60 days, have you made a phone call on behalf of someone else? Maybe a neighbor, maybe a family member, maybe a child, maybe an older person, maybe a person who struggles with technology. So just think back in the last 30 to 60 days. Have you had that moment where you're like, oh yeah, I can make that phone call for you, or let me find that website for you, or I can text you the link, right? I'm seeing a lot of hands up. Have you spoken to a friend or family member, a colleague, on behalf of another person? Have you come and said, hey, listen, I wanted to ask you about this, or I wanted to tell you about that? Raise your hand. The reason I ask you those questions is because that is the work of an advocate. And a lot of times you may not think of yourself, like when you're thinking about your identity and who you are and what you do, you may not use that word, oh, I'm an advocate, right? Sometimes we hold that word for someone that we think, oh, well, that's a lobbyist full-time at the State House, or that's the government relations person at the United Way. Those people are advocates. All of you, I would venture to say, are advocates, and you are involved in advocacy work. One of my dear friends, Dr. Crystal Campbell, who lives down in Dorchester County, I was having this conversation with her a couple years ago, and I said, Crystal, you are such a strong advocate for children and families in our community. When did that start? When did you first recognize that that was part of who you are? She said, it must have been when I was in kindergarten. And I, okay, and if I know you, Crystal, you were a formidable 5-year-old. And she said, yeah, there was a child on the playground who was not being treated kindly like the other children. And I just felt compelled to go over there and tell them to stop, and she could play with me and we could be friends. And I was like, yes, I would not stand in your way, Crystal. If you told me that at the age of 5, I would, okay, go ahead. But I think a lot of us have that, right? Where we've been ever since maybe childhood or adolescence, early adulthood, where we've seen things happening in our communities, maybe at a micro level with a specific family, a specific child, or maybe more at the macro level. And we've been in those spaces advocating for those children and for those individuals. When I talk to people about advocating for a specific individual, there are a lot of things that I think about. When we step into a space, my friend who was talking about Dr. Deborah Greenhouse going and meeting with Congressman Joe Wilson, and it's funny because I happen to have a picture of my friend Crystal Campbell with Congressman Wilson from a few months ago. So yes, this is something we do. We step into those spaces oftentimes with someone who doesn't align with us as far as ideologies or politics or approaches. And sometimes we're hesitant to even step into those spaces because we see that person as being so different from ourselves, right? Like, oh, I'm just not gonna waste my breath. Why am I gonna show up and talk to that person? Did you see what he voted for? Did you see what she supported? Did you see the opportunity that he neglected that could have, I'm just not even gonna speak to them. And I want to encourage all of us here that our voices are most needed with those who don't agree with us. It is beautiful to be in a space like this where all of us care passionately about our community. All of us want to see children and families thrive. There's value in that. That said, if we completely insulate ourselves and isolate ourselves, we're not having the impact that we want to have with people of different ideologies. The other thing that I would say about these opportunities to advocate, whether, again, it's for an individual or in a group, we want to be persistent. My friend also mentioned that this is a marathon and it's not a sprint, right? We've become very attached to instant gratification. Like, okay, those of you who are like my age and older, you remember when you would say, who won the Super Bowl in 1987? And if you didn't know, you didn't know, right? And you just had to sit there and not know for a minute until you saw your brother or your friend and say, who was it who won in 87? Oh, it was such and such. Okay, great. No. Now we're like, oh, let me look that up, right? Like we can't be 5 seconds without some kind of instant gratification. When we're looking at making changes in our community, it is a slow, incremental process. And that's just something to keep in mind. That doesn't mean that we're not winning, but it's a slow win, right? And we need to be in it for the long game. Whether I'm showing up to advocate for my goddaughter because I want to find her a slot at a high quality childcare center, or whether I'm showing up at the State House, I'm gonna still use these same kinds of skills and approaches, right? I'm gonna step into that space and be polite. I'm going to be persistent. I'm going to state the problem. Why am I here? I'm here because I'm concerned about this. I want to see this change. And then I'm also going to offer a solution. Coming with a bunch of complaints and a bunch of criticisms, nobody reacts well to that, right? That's just not the way human beings respond. So coming in and saying, here's my concern, and here's the thing I think that would get us closer to solving this problem. One of the things I encourage individuals to do is always put things in writing. Whenever you have a conversation, whether that's at your local elementary school where you're trying to get your child an evaluation for their speech, or whether you're talking to your granddaughter's pediatrician because you're hoping to get an appointment with a specialist. Even when you have that really successful voice-to-voice, face-to-face conversation, to follow it up in writing. Like, dear Ms. Jones, it was great speaking with you this morning. I'm so excited to get Bethany screened for speech therapy. From what I understood this morning, you said that would be something that would be happening in the next 3 to 6 weeks. Please let me know what you need from me, right? So that we're establishing a paper trail, because I can come back and say, no, I don't remember. Did you stop by last week? I'm so sorry, I've been so busy, right? And if we have that paper trail, we can say, yeah, remember I emailed you afterward. That was back on the 10th. Oh, that's right, okay. So that's just something to keep in mind, whether you're doing advocacy for a specific child or whether you're working at more of the policy level. And then also looking for ways to climb the ladder, right? So maybe you're talking to your child's teacher, your nephew's teacher, your goddaughter's teacher. And if you're not getting the response you need, then you need to talk to the principal. And if you're not getting the response you need, then you can go to the district office. And if you're not getting the response you need, you can go to the school board meeting, right? We're not going to say, oh, well, I tried and it didn't work. And that's the case at an individual level as well as a policy level. So before we go any further with talking about advocacy for children, I'm gonna do a civics quiz for you, okay? So maybe for most of us, it's been a minute since we were in like 12th grade, government and economics, but I think you're still gonna get a really good grade on this quiz, so no stress. We have 170 lawmakers at the State House here in Columbia, right? I wanna know, of that 170, do you think we have more men or more women? Let me hear it. Men, okay, that's a point. You guys just got a point, good job. Okay, do you think that we have more younger people, let's say like under 40, or do you think we have more older people? Yes, okay, you guys have got 2 points now, fantastic. Do you think that we have an accurate representation of the cultural and ethnic diversity in South Carolina, or do you think it's mostly white people? You guys, okay, even though it's been a minute, you are totally passing this civics quiz with flying colors. Now, looking at the kind of the wealth profile of those who represent us at the State House, do you think that they are more on the working class, middle class end of things, or more on the wealthy end of things? Okay, you guys just passed that quiz 100%. Good job. Give yourself a pat on the back. Okay, I think about that because if we have, no offense, mostly older, white, wealthy gentlemen making the decisions for all of us, we're not going to get the policies that support everyone's potential. Am I right? And that is why I loved when I saw the voter registration table and the get your ballot in early, all of those things. There are so many opportunities, including voting, but even beyond that, the number of public hearings, public subcommittee meetings, public committee meetings, it's incredible. It's almost like hidden in plain sight kind of thing. There are things happening at the State House all the time that are open to the public. We take groups all the time to different events. And most of the time when we bring new people who are new to our group, they say, oh, wow, this is the first time I've ever been inside the State House. What? Or they say, oh no, I came here, oh gosh, I was in 7th grade, we came here on a field trip, way back when, right? And I'm not saying that our presence alone will make all the changes we want to see, but it makes a difference when there are people from the community sitting there listening to senators and representatives who are working on an issue, and we are there in the audience. It changes the feeling in the room. And that is what democracy is, right? It is not just voting. Please vote. I'm not diminishing or minimizing that at all. But there's so many more opportunities that we can take advantage of to bring our voices to those spaces. One of the phrases that I like, I'm not going to even try to say it in Latin, though some people may be able to. Nothing about us without us. Right? So when we think about children, when we think about issues like childcare, health care, access to housing, access to nutritious foods, access to mental health supports, when all of those policies are being made without listening to the community, there's no way that those policies can meet the needs of the families in our community. There's just no way. And I won't even say that it's a malicious thing, but if you don't know something, you can't take it into consideration, right? So most of our state is younger, less affluent, and more diverse than our representatives. So our voices are needed in those spaces. I was talking to a gentleman, I won't say who, because I'm that professional. This was several years ago. We were advocating for greater investment in Head Start and early Head Start. So I was speaking to this lawmaker and urging him to support that funding at the federal level. And he said, oh, I know what you're talking about. When my children were young, my wife used to take them to Mom's Morning Out at our church a few days a week. It was great. She got a break. She got to go play tennis. She got to go get her nails done. It was so nice. Oh, okay. I appreciate you trying to relate what I'm saying here, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about families who absolutely need a safe place for their child to be so that they can go to work and pay rent and put food on their table, right? So sometimes our lawmakers, even those who are trying to do what's right, without the knowledge that we bring, without the lived experience that we can share, they just can't make those decisions in that void of their own lack of experience. I'm keeping an eye on the time, friends, because this is definitely something I could chat about, for days. I do want to encourage you to get as involved. I was going to say get as involved as you feel comfortable. No, I want you to go a step beyond where you feel comfortable. Right? Because what we'll find is that as we show up in these spaces, the more we do it, the more comfortable we feel. I remember when I first started as a volunteer with Save the Children 9 years ago, and even getting someone to sign a postcard in support of some funding for some program, I felt like, oh, I have these postcards here. Would you like to sign them for me, please? Like, what was the person going to say? Of course they were going to say yes. Like, come on, it's not that serious. Like, you've got this, Deborah, you can do it. But the more we show up in these spaces, the more emboldened we feel. And the more we're able to create trusting relationships. I know that Dr. Greenhouse, because of her reputation, when she shows up at the State House for a committee hearing, when she talks to a congressional member, she has been working in this space for so long that there is a deep respect for her. And I would challenge the thought that just because someone is on the other end of the political spectrum than you are, that they don't want some of the same things you want, right? There's a lot more of an overlap in that Venn diagram than the news would like us to believe. If you were to go to the State House, last year there was a committee working on child nutrition. If you were to go sit in at that hearing about coming up with innovative ideas to be sure that children have access to nutritious foods, I promise you, you wouldn't have been able to tell who was a Republican and who was a Democrat. It was a brainstorming strategy session to find better ways to provide nutrition for our children. So when we step into those spaces, even with people who we may not agree with, they start to trust us, and we show up with that spirit of collaboration. Not that we're watering down our message or selling out, but we're looking for those spaces where we can collaborate with one another. So I would just encourage you, be sure you know who your representatives are, all the way from city council up to the White House. I keep phone numbers in my phone. I have my county council member, my state rep, my state senator, like, hey, it's Deborah, how you doing? All right. And I call just to say, hey, I was really pleased with the funding that went through for that, or I was really disappointed with that. Because the more we voice our opinions, the more we can get things done, right? I'm going to leave with you some of these copies of our Early Childhood Common Agenda. It lists the 10 issues that we're most focused on over the past 2 years. We're getting ready to publish for the next 2 years. Things like housing, things like access to high quality early care and education. On the back is a QR code. If you as a congregation would like to become a signatory, we would welcome that. We have other faith communities who have become a signatory as a whole. Also, if you would like to become a signatory as an individual, we'll publish your first initial and last name. If you do, you'll get about 1 email from us a week. We don't bombard your email inbox, and we certainly don't sell your contact information. But we will give you opportunities to come and meet with your lawmakers. This coming, not this Tuesday, but the 17th, the Children's Committee will be meeting at the State House for public input. There will be a session from 9 a.m. until noon, and then a session from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. right here at the State House. It's like a school board meeting where everybody gets 3 minutes at the mic, and you can share any concern you have, whether that's about gun violence, whether that's about education, medical care, whatever it may be. You'll have 3 state senators, 3 state representatives, and the heads of all the child-serving agencies sitting there listening to you for 3 minutes. So if that's something that you're interested in participating in, I'd love to chat with you about that, and I can help you kind of get prepped for that. Friends, the point is, our voices make a difference. The child that you showed me at the beginning of my talk, that child deserves the very best, and all children in South Carolina deserve the very best. So please join with me to use your voice to make a difference for children and families. Thank you.
Our closing hymn is in the teal hymnal. It's number 1017, Building a New Way. I invite you to stand in body or spirit to join in singing. One, two, three, four. We are building a new way. We are building
you so much. If you would please be seated for our closing words. And in those words, I'd like to close the service with a slight derivative of the work of Graham Nash. For we who are in this space have a covenant we try to live by. And so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye.
Teach your children well. Their father's hell did slowly go by. Feed them on your dreams. The one they pick is the one you'll know by.
Don't you ever ask them why, for if they told you, you would cry. So just look at them and sigh and know that they love you.
And you of tender years can't know the fears your elders grew by. Help them with your youth. They seek the truth before they can die.
So teach your parents well. Their children's hell will slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams. The ones they pick is the one you'll know by.
Don't you ever ask them why. If they told you, you would cry. So just look at them and sigh and know they love you.
In a moment, I will extinguish the chalice as we end our time today. But may its flame glow gently in our hearts and light the path as we leave this place. Until we're together again, let us keep the words of Barbara Nielsen in our hearts, that every child is a gift, and what we do with that gift is in our hands.
Please join in singing our congregational benediction. May the blessings of truth be upon us. May the power of love direct us. And may the peace of this community sustain us till we meet again.
This concludes today's service, but it does not conclude the good work. Anne, Wolfgang, thank you for being a part of our service. Deborah, Anna, Andy, Kate Noel, and Karen, thank you for your wonderful music and your wonderful contributions to this service. We do have a welcome back and a celebration of our CYRE immediately after this service, thanks to the great work of the worship committee. Please join us in the back. I'm taking off to a great place at the foot of the Gervais Street Bridge as we celebrate Grandparents' Day at Adventure. If you're willing to join me, I'll see you down there. But until next week, when we have Reverend Robinson back in our celebration of our worship, of our water communion, I look forward to seeing you then. Goodbye. Thank you.